Hello, one, hello, all. Look who we have here, the beautiful Julie Ryan, who's about to deal with some cold weather up in Birmingham, Vermont. So, Julie, I did not get
Alabama.
Alabama. It's
Alabama,
cold
honey.
there too? Are you kidding me? Of
So I'm
course,
telling you, I got
Birmingham.
camellias in his.
That's crazy. That's crazy. All right. So, I didn't get your
I
bio,
know.
but I know that you have a very interesting story to tell, and we all would like to hear it.
I'm a businesswoman and an inventor of surgical devices sold throughout the world who
No
learned how to
kidding.
do woo woo, and I'm a buffet of psychicness.
Oh, I that's what I read. That is amazing. Now, you describe yourself as a buffet of psychicness. So when you open that buffet for a client, tell me about that. How do you know which spiritual ability, mediumship, past lives, or medical intuition that person needs? How do you know what needs to come forward?
Really, it's a combo platter.
Yeah.
Well, it's spirit talking to me, working with me and helping to facilitate healing no matter what way that shows up, whether it's a physical medical healing, whether it's an emotional healing, whether it's healing for a pet or a past life or whatever.
But
It's
you're not kidding. It's a buffet. It's not just mediumship. You do healing too, right?
oh yeah, yeah. I'm like a human MRI. I can see inside people's bodies
Oh
and
my God.
pe-
What does my body look like? I'm open for inspection. No,
I
I'm not
can
going to put you on the spot. I'm just
I
kidding.
can see broken bones, torn ligaments, viral infections, bacterial infections, cancer,
Well, isn't that
metastasized
amazing?
cancer, whatever. I
Wow.
learned how to do all this stuff.
Now, tell me, did you know this from childhood? I mean, how did
No,
you
I
know?
learned how to do it.
So you
And I
just sat down one day and said, I want to learn how to do this, that, and the other. And
Well,
how did
sort
you
of,
start?
sort of. I teach people all over the world how to do the buffet of psychicness. Now, I was in the hospital supply industry for 30 years as a sales rep first, and then an inventor and manufacturer. And so I was always interested in healing, but helping medical professionals,
Yeah.
doctors and surgeons and other medical providers help their patients heal. And about 30, a little over 30 years ago, a girlfriend gave me a book called Anatomy of the Spirit by Carolyn Mace. And she called herself a medical intuitive. And I thought, well, what the heck is that? And so I went to the bookstore because we didn't have the internet yet.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to the bookstore and found a book called Hands of Light by Barbara Brennan, who's a former who was a former NASA physicist who parlayed very complex quantum physics principles into understandable non-scientific languaging for people
Love
like
that.
me.
Love that.
And I studied her stuff, and what I realized, Elisa, was that once you connect with spirit, you can do it all. I don't understand why it's siloed. Got the
Yeah.
mediums and the psychics and the pet psychics and the healers and the NDEers, and it's like it's all the same thing.
I agree. I mean, it used to be fine back in the days of the old mystics and stuff, but then something happened with organized religion that shut it down. I mean, Jesus was a medium and a healer, of course, but they
Sure.
didn't like him. So anyway, that just got cut out of the Bible, out of the Old Testament and stuff. So yeah, it's crazy. But I think now science is starting to bridge with spirituality once again, as it should.
I
What do you
agree.
think?
Science is catching up with woo woo, and woo woo's been around a whole lot longer. And woo
Yeah.
in Taoism means source.
Really? No kidding.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Now, you communicate with animals too, correct? Tell me about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's just like talking to you. You just say something to them and then you get an answer in your head. It's that first thing that pops in. That's how you know what their answer is. Feels like your own thought. And time doesn't exist in the spirit world. Time's a human creation. So
Exactly.
we can say something and the spirit of the person or the animal with whom we're communicating is going to have our question or our statement, and they'll be responding sometimes before our thought is even all the way thought through. And every spirit has a frequency they keep throughout all of their lifetimes. So, in order to get in touch with a spirit, whether it's attached to a body or not, is irrelevant. Whether you knew that spirit or not when they were alive is irrelevant. All you have to do is just think of them and think of our heads as like a big satellite TV
Oh
dish.
yeah, yeah.
And so you think of them, that tunes your satellite TV
I'm
head.
usually just picking up Radio Moscow, nothing else. Okay.
Yeah. And then, attention, intention, new meaning for AI. And then
Yeah.
it opens up a two-way radio communication, and you can communicate with any spirit, like I said, whether it's attached to a body or not.
So, are the way animals communicate, is it different? Does it feel different for you?
No,
Really? That is so cool. So, which of the clairs are your strongest? Do you have all the clairs?
we all have all of them.
Yeah,
That's weeds to me. I don't get messed up and,
that
all
makes
those
sense.
particulars. It's like spirit communicate to me visually, auditorially, kinesthetically, all of that. So
Yeah,
I think that what I teach is let's figure out what's the best way, easiest way for spirit to communicate with you.
yeah,
That's your primary way. And then all the other ones materialize too.
yeah. So, you learned your gifts. What does that mean for a person like me if I wanted to learn how to become a medium? What would you say to people like me?
Come to my class.
You have a class. All right, that's awesome. We'll talk more about that. I did not know that.
People are
For some
doing.
reason, I didn't get your bio. Uh, or maybe I did and it just got lost. I get so many emails, as you probably do. What's the most surprising or humorous moment you've had while communicating with somebody, some of the de deceased loved ones? Ooh, you could probably write a book and you have, and we'll talk about
Oh goodness, tens of thousands of things, honestly. I've been doing this for a long time.
it. Yeah.
One of my favorites is I was talking with a woman and her mother's spirit and people the first time they get to talk to their loved ones in heaven, they think they're going to come in with some profound, life-altering advice that's just going to be amazing.
Welcome, my dear one. That
Oh,
sort of thing.
and
Yeah, I know. It's not like
yeah,
that.
like do this and this and this, and your life will be golden for the rest of your years.
Yeah.
Normally, they come in with things that are very practical, and spirits are really funny. So, this woman's mother's spirit said, first thing out of the mother's spirits, your communication was, you need to throw out your peanut butter. her daughter
What?
said, her daughter said, what? And the mom said, you need to throw out your peanut butter. And
Whoa.
I said, do you have peanut butter? And she said, yeah, I just used it this morning. I made my kids peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and put them in their
Uh-oh.
lunches for school. And I said, well, just go look at the expiration date. It had expired a year ago.
Uh-oh.
And
Yeah,
the
I'll tell you the
mom's
bacteria you can get from peanut butter from
Yeah.
peanut.
And the mom's spirit from heaven's going, you need to throw out your peanut butter, girl. I thought
That's
that was just
funny.
hilarious.
It's
Hilarious.
so true. It's not like, of course, I don't channel. I probably do, but I just
We
have,
all do.
yeah, I'm more claircognizant, I think, if you want to go into the weeds again. But it just
Where
doesn't,
you just know stuff.
I
You
just
just,
know stuff. It's just,
yeah.
but it seems like they don't often give deep advice, like try to love yourself and meditate every day. It is truly more practical.
Right. Right. Like it's
I think
coming
it's
in from the Buddha, or something. And it's,
I
yeah.
know, that's right.
And
So,
they're funny. Have you found that to be the case too? They're
yes,
hilarious.
they have a
Hilarious.
sense of humor. I would be if I were in heaven too. It's
Well,
a
and
great place to be.
you gotta remember that humor and joy and love are all really high vibrations. So they're
Yeah.
trying to, you know, make people feel good and get them into a high vibration.
Yeah, they are in a much higher vibrational state than we are. And I think that's sometimes why when we grieve, like I did or still do to an extent because of Eric, our we get so down low in the electromagnetic spectrum, the visible range, real low. And they're up here just fluttering in a high vibration. It's so very difficult for them to put themselves way down into the visible range. And we're at the bottom of it. So it makes it very difficult for us to see spirits sometimes, you know?
What I find, Elisa, is that they're always communicating with us. It's us raising our vibration to the spirit level channel.
Oh, okay.
It's like satellite TV. How many shows are they broadcasting simultaneously?
That's true.
Hundreds, if not thousands of them. What show are you watching? Well, that's predicated on what channel you're tuned to.
Mm,
So back to every spirit. I think a thought, you're tuned into that frequency. When you're thinking of your son, you're tuned into his frequency. It's a matter of that broadcast is always happening. It's where are we tuned in?
yeah.
Attention, intention. Your attention's on your son. Your intention is to communicate with them. It's
Wow.
really that simple.
That's amazing. I love how you make everything so simple because it is.
Well, it is, and we overcomplicate the crap out of it, don't
We
we?
do. We do. Have you
Yeah.
ever talked to Eric at all or tried to?
I have not.
No. You'll pick up his energy is really recognizable. He's hilarious. He's a prankster and
Oh,
curses. He didn't learn it from me, or did he? All right, now I want to talk about your book.
okay. Which one?
Well, which one? I'm really interested in the angelic attendants. Can
Yeah.
you tell us
Yeah.
that? And I hear
Sure.
you're giving away a free copy.
Free copy to anybody that wants it. Just go to askjulieryan.com and you'll see on the homepage, get your free copy, digital and audiobook. And we also have it in Spanish. So anybody that's listening.
Nice.
So
And
this is, go ahead. I'm sorry.
nope, you go.
This is about what happens as we're transitioning and
Yeah,
how we're all surrounded by the spirits of deceased loved ones and angels. And it has pictures in it, it has illustrations
love
about
it.
how the angels and our loved ones are surrounding us. And everybody goes through what I call the 12 phases of
Yeah, I'm
transition.
seeing that. That's interesting. Can you share how this phases can help families understand and prepare for the death of a loved one?
Sure, sure. That we're all surrounded by angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets as we're transitioning. I find that there's lots of information out there about the afterlife and
Yeah.
about near-death experiences and even how to grieve,
Yeah.
but not much about what happens as we're actually dying. And that's what people are afraid of. They're afraid of, are we going to fly or are we going to fry?
Yeah.
Especially in
Oh,
our Western Judeo-Christian
exactly.
cultures.
Yeah.
So everybody goes to heaven. We're all surrounded by angels and the spirits of deceased loved ones and pets in what I call the 12 phases of transition, regardless of how we pass. If it's instantly, like in the case of a homicide or suicide, or whether it's over a prolonged period of time, days, weeks, months, even years. And so nobody ever dies alone, ever, ever, ever.
That's
We're
nice.
all we're all surrounded by angels
Yeah.
and our loved ones' spirits.
Yeah. That's nice.
The other thing that's interesting about this too, Elisa, is that university-based research, we were talking about science catching up with woo-woo a couple of minutes ago. University-based research shows that 90% of people at the end of their lives see the spirits of deceased loved
I have experienced that
ones
while
and
witnessing
pet
somebody
percent.
die in the hospital. And I've witnessed it in my own mother. So you are so
Uh-huh.
right about that. It's fascinating. So as they're
Yeah,
dying, they're surrounded by loved ones and guides and guardian angels.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's
comforting.
right. And pets, spirits.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people think, oh, grandma's hallucinating. It's the morphine from hospice, and it's not. They actually can communicate. What happened with your mom and your patient?
Well, the patient was speaking with Uncle so and so. Come here, or I'm coming to you. My mother kept saying, "Gloria, I want to be there with you." And we don't know any Gloria. Must have been a spirit guide or something. But and I don't think she was on Haldol at the moment because we just couldn't get anything down her. But yeah, it was
Mhm.
really interesting. And I
Yeah,
knew she was looking directly up at the
right,
ceiling at something.
right. And how one tells the difference between a hallucination, like from a drug or something,
Yeah.
is oftentimes those are upsetting. Whereas when they're seeing the spirits of angels and loved ones and pets, it's comforting.
Oh my gosh,
It
that is
brings them
so
peace.
true.
Yeah,
That is so true because she was calm and happy at that moment. You're
right,
so right. Now, have
right.
you ever had somebody who didn't want to go to the light? They resisted?
We have. Yeah, I have. Yes. And my graduates have too. And so I do this exercise with them called the walk to heaven. And it's a dress rehearsal of what's going to happen
Oh,
when they
wow.
actually pass. And we I exit my body with my spirit, their spirit. We walk through the desert. We walk through the pearly gates. And I've never seen St. Peter there with a clipboard going, "Yeah, you're allowed in. No, you got to go burn
Well,
for
Lisa, you're
eternity."
out. That's it.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
know what you've done.
That's right. Everybody goes to heaven. Like all dogs go to heaven. Remember that movie
Oh yeah,
in the
but
80s? All dogs.
without Saint Peter wouldn't have all those pearly gate jokes. Saint Peter, two
Exactly.
lawyers and a whatever go to the pearly gates, and Saint
That's
Peter's
right.
us. We wouldn't have those jokes.
That's right. And
Those
down here in
motherfuckers.
Alabama, it always involves Bear Bryant,
Oh really?
who's there. Yeah. Yeah, for
That's
Alabama
funny.
football. Anyways, so once they cross over, they see that all their loved ones are waiting for them, and it's really a glorious reunion. And we stay there for a minute or so, and then come back, reattach their spirit to their body, put my spirit back in my body, and inevitably they'll usually pass fairly soon thereafter because
Yeah.
they're so afraid because they've been brought up that you know they stole a cookie out of the cookie jar when they were 5 and they're still repenting for
Yeah.
it and they're afraid they're
Oh,
going to go burn in hell or
yeah.
if they're Catholic purgatory for a long period of time and
Yeah. We shouldn't
everybody
be
goes to
afraid of
heaven.
death. We should be afraid of life, if anything. Life is much more difficult and much more painful, than death is, from what I understand. Is that true? Would you say that?
I think it's all glorious.
It's
Yeah.
all glorious. You're right.
It's all glorious. I do have a fun story about how the book originated. May I share it?
Yes, please.
When I was my the first time I saw that 12 Faces of Transition was when my own mother was dying in
Mm.
2002. And I'd never been around anybody who was dying before. So on one hand, I felt like the Lady of Justice statue. My heart was breaking on one side. And then on the other side, I was seeing all this glorious stuff going on.
Oh.
So a few years later, I was with my mentor and she was doing a healing on me. And when I'm on the table face up, usually all of my deceased loved ones' spirits line the sides of the table. And
Oh.
even my little dog, Katie, who was a Keeshond German Shepherd mix, and she's on her hind legs and her little paws are on the
Oh.
table. And so they're all participating, all those spirits are participating in the healing. So one day, this spirit of a dead pope shows up. And he had his Pope hat on and the shepherd's rod and the whole 9 yards. And I said, "Well, who are you?" And Susan, my mentor, could see him too. And he said, "I'm Clement." And I said, "Oh, I've been through 12 years at Catholic schools, but I never heard of Pope Clement. I'm so sorry." And
Yeah.
he said, "Well, I was number 6." He was laughing. He said, "Well, I was number 6." I said, "Great. How may I help you?" And he said, "You're supposed to teach the world what happens when somebody dies because it's been so bastardized over the millennia. And
Yeah.
it's glorious and there's nothing to fear." And he
Yeah.
said, "So you just need to get on with teaching the world, what happens when somebody dies." And I
Oh.
said to him, "Thank you so much for your vote of confidence, but you see, I'm a businesswoman and people will think I'm nuts. So I'm really not interested, but thanks for stopping by."
Oh my
And he
God.
laughed. And he said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Everything you've done in your life is to prepare you for this. And you just need to go do it. Get on with it." And so I said, "Okay, fine. Thanks for stopping by." And I'm thinking, there's no way. So I go out to my car a few minutes later to go home, and I checked up Pope Clement the 6th on my phone. Well, come to find out, this guy was in office during the Black Plague when two-thirds
Ooh.
of Europe died, and he's best known for his prayers for the dying and his prayers for the dead.
Oh
And I
wow.
thought, I can't make that up. I never heard of
That
the
is
guy.
incredible. That's
I
why he
know.
was the perfect messenger for you to do what you're
I
doing
know.
now. Teach people about what death is all about and the
I
12
know.
phases. That is
Because we're all going to be there.
rivers.
I
Yeah.
know. And
None of us are getting out of this alive, I'm telling you.
well, the funniest thing, Elisa, too, is that even now, after all these years, he shows up with his Pope hat on. And I said to him one time, I said, "Clement, I know who you are. You don't have to wear the hat."
That's so funny. Oh,
And he's good.
you
So
froze
he
for
always has
just
the
a
hat
moment.
on.
That's hilarious. So, they're skeptics. I've had people like I don't even want to proselytize. I don't say it to anybody. If they ask me, And I'm, oh, God, okay, I'll tell you what I'm doing now. He's like reluctantly. And it's very difficult because some of them would just get their eyes glazed over and sort of back away. How do you handle people like that? The skeptics.
I don't have very many of them, but in the past, when I have, I would say to the person, well, we don't have to talk about woo woo. We can talk about sports or weather or politics or whatever you
There we
want.
go.
And they'd say, no, no, no. I want to hear what you have to say. I think, I don't think this is right. I think this is evil. And I'd say, well, let me ask you this. Do you pray? And they'd say, of course I pray. Kind of was, they were a little indignant. And I'd
Oh,
say,
yeah.
great. To whom are you praying? Jesus, whoever. It's great. So are your prayers ever answered? And they'll say, yeah, all the time. And then I'll say, okay, so let me get this right. When you're talking to Jesus, you're sitting on your living room couch and Jesus is sitting next to you and you can hold Jesus's hand while you're talking to him. And they'll say, no. I'll say, oh, you're talking with Jesus's spirit.
Oh, perfect.
And their eyes just kind of bug out and you can see the wheels turning in their head. And I'll say, we're getting guidance from God and spirit all day long.
Yeah.
And it's just that maybe you didn't realize it before.
Yeah.
And it totally changes the tone. It's very rare, though, that I'll have somebody say that to me. And it's funny, I do have another couple of fun, quick stories about
Please.
getting the book released. So Clement shows up, I find out who he is. Life goes on. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm running businesses, I'm, doing my thing. One Sunday, we're at church. I'm sitting between my son and my husband, and the priest from the altar during the sermon says, wouldn't it be nice if somebody could tell us if really we're greeted by angels and loved ones and escorted into heaven when we die? And I'm getting elbowed from my son and my husband going,
Oh, no.
Mom, this is what Pope Clement's on you about.
Yeah.
So I said, God, really? In the middle of church, in the middle of the sermon from the pulpit, you're giving me grief about this? So I said, all right, all right, all right. So I wrote the book and I thought, well, I got to put up a website. And so we did. We got AskJulieRyan.com up. A couple weeks later, I'm at an event where I'm giving a talk at a business conference. And
Oh,
this is
gosh.
mostly C-suite men, C-suite
Yeah.
executive men. And I give my talk. And at the end of the talk, this man comes up to me and he's got his iPad open. And he said, to AskJulieRyan.com, he says, is this you? And I said, yes, it is. I'm interested in learning more. Can we sit together at lunch? And I'm thinking, oh, here we go.
Uh-oh.
I'm just gonna get blasted for the whole lunch period.
Yeah.
So we sit at this table, and I had a smile, and he didn't know I was thinking that. So we sat at this table of eight. It was seven sweet C-suite men and me,
Oh,
and all they
God.
wanted to talk about was woo-woo. They didn't
Yeah.
want to talk about business. They didn't want to talk about the conference. They didn't want to talk about what I had discussed
I
in
agree.
my.
People are interested. I had the same situation as you. I'll let you finish your story, of course, but I'll forget this if I don't say it now. I mean, I went to a business conference of my husband's, and somebody asked me, what do you do? Well, I'm a doctor. Well, what do you do? Where do you practice? And I had to say, well, this is what I do now. First, I'd say, oh, no, I don't want to go into it. No.
Yeah.
And then this one lady says, oh my God, I'm so glad you're talking about this because yesterday I said I saw two angels standing by my dumpster. So people have stories.
Oh, yeah,
There's a
lots.
lot of closet believers out there, Julie.
Right,
All
right,
right,
right.
so tell me about the end of that story.
So that's what we talked about. We talked about woo woo the whole time at lunch. And I said, okay, God, I'm in full force. Sold a couple of companies, and I've been doing this full time ever since.
That's very brave of you. Very brave of you.
And now at this point, if somebody's got a problem with it, okay, God bless you. Go enjoy talking about whatever you want. I
By the time I'm
re
70, I don't care what
I
you guys think about
very
me.
rarely have somebody say anything to me about it. If it is, it's usually online on social media, and I could care less
Yeah,
because
I
they're
know.
hiding behind their computer.
That's right.
They're
I do not read comments. Some of them I hear have been so ugly, so I don't have time for that mess. So let's
yeah,
talk about past lives. This is kind of
yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
When you scan people for past lives, right?
I
How
do.
does that information reveal itself to you, and how does it influence their current challenges or diseases? because we know that you got stabbed in in the neck or hung, and so now you always have sore throats or you have a scar. Tell me about your whole thing with past lives.
Well, two ways that past lives come into the work that I do. First of all, to your point, in a medical appointment, a medical scan. And normally when I have somebody for an hour, we're doing like the whole buffet. It's kind of a goulash. We're doing medical, we're scanning the pets, we're, talking to dead people, we're doing the whole 9 yards. So there's always an emotional component in place before any kind of disease or illness
Yeah,
sets in. That's been my experience.
absolutely.
And we're all spirits attached to a body having a human experience. Most of us have heard that before. What I perceive is that the energy that makes up our spirit and our body is encapsulated in what I call the energy, really thin piece of saran wrap that you'd see on a tray of chicken breasts from the grocery
Oh
store. You
yeah.
know, that stuff's thinner and stretchier than the Glad wrap, perhaps in
Oh
our
yeah.
kitchen drawers.
Yeah.
Well, when there's a tear or a hole in that energy filled membrane, there's an energy leak, always precedes any kind of medical condition.
Mm.
So I'll go into that tear or hole, I'll envision doing that. And it's like I'm walking into a scene of a movie. If it's
Mm.
this life, I'll get where it was, when it was, a little bit of information. But normally I don't even get that far because I'll just say, okay, 1964. And they'll know instantly. My parents got divorced. My grandmother died.
Oh,
We moved. I
yeah.
went to a new school. My heart was broken, whatever. If it's a past life, I'll get where it was, when it was, a little bit about what happened. And then we'll correlate that with what's going on in their current life. And oftentimes, we can get information from past lives that we can validate and corroborate with historic documentation online,
That's
even to the
fascinating.
point of names and birth dates that we can validate from census records,
Yeah. You know how
which,
people love validation, Julie.
oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, again, it's science catching up with woo woo
You got it.
is what the validation is.
Yeah.
When I do past lives, of course, I'm an entrepreneur, so I have to do it differently from
Of course.
everybody else. And
Mm.
so what I do is I don't do hypnotism or regression. I do what I call a scan. And I envision myself in this endless hallway, very narrow walls, very tall ceiling, 12-inch by 12-inch square mirrors on either side of the wall. And they're lined up perfectly in vertical and horizontal columns.
Mm.
Each life represents a different lifetime. So let's say you had a question, do I have any past lives that have influenced me being a physician in this life? And the ones that do correlate will come out from the wall as if they're on a hydraulic arm.
Oh,
I'll say, show me the one that correlates the most. That one will come out the farthest. And then I'll envision walking into that mirror. And
wow.
then I'm shown where, when, your name, oftentimes, if it's like 500 BC or something,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll get names, but we'll get where it was and what you were doing, and then we'll correlate it with your current life. The reason why I want to see how many lifetimes pertain to the whatever our question
Yeah.
is that gives us a good feeling of how prevalent has this been
Yeah.
in multiple lifetimes. And I talk in analogies a lot because I think it gives
I
our
noticed that. I love
human
that. Yeah.
minds a human frame of reference
Yeah.
for stuff that we don't understand. And so my analogy for past lives has been performed since Shakespeare wrote it in 1602. Who knows? But think about all the variables that go into that
Oh
performance.
yeah.
Where was it performed? When? By whom? In what
Yeah.
language?
Yeah.
Inside, outside? Who were the actors? Who was the director? Who was the customer? All different versions of the same script,
Mm.
different perspective each time. And
Yeah.
that's what I see as semblance of a script in many scripts that will be present in many, many lifetimes. And then we see how the spirit is expanding and experiencing all these different versions of the same script. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, it does very much.
Yeah.
So when you do that sort of reading on a person, do you ever have something happen to their disease, their pain, their et cetera? Do they
Oh,
come back and
yeah.
say, "Oh,
Absolutely.
can you share one story?"
Well, as soon as we illuminate wherever, whatever that issue was, that emotional issue was, it eradicates all the energy blocks that have gone on top of it. I'm not going for what's the most traumatic thing that's happened to them or dramatic. I'm going for
Yeah.
where did that energy block begin?
Oh.
Energy blocks look like a little kernel of popcorn to me. They
Mm.
get stuck in the energy field from an emotional event. And
Yeah.
then all the other emotional energy piles on top of it over the years, over a lifetime,
Yeah.
causes enough pressure, causes a blowout in that membrane.
But you have to get to the root. That's what you're saying.
Body's leaking power. Unlike psychotherapy, where they want to talk to you about unpeeling your life as an onion, a layer at a time, for my perspective and for this healing modality that I do, I want to get the onion out by the root because it eradicates all of that emotional energy that's piled up. Couple interesting points. I've never seen the energy field membrane rupture after it's been fixed.
Oh,
I've done this tens of
good.
thousands of times. I'm
Wow.
not saying it can't. I think it's highly unlikely it will. I think
Yeah.
I would have seen it by now.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Well, that
First
is
of all.
amazing.
Secondly, it can be that energy block can be some caused by something that's very simplistic, like somebody called you a bad name when you were little and it hurt your feelings. And we
Mm.
think, well, that was no big deal as an adult. And yet it was a big deal to your 3-year-old little self
Yeah.
when you were called that name. And then it can be something really dramatic. My favorite dramatic story was I was working with a woman on the Guernsey, on the northern British Isle of Guernsey.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And she's a huge hole in her energy field membrane. I envisioned myself going into it and I saw her as a preteen and there was a big explosion behind her. And, and I said, is that IRA bombing at the age of 11? And I was in the hospital for 3 months.
Oh, wow.
That's an emotional event, a big one. And so
Yeah.
we illuminate it, energy filled membranes healed, body's working on full power. So it can be anywhere on that spectrum. And I'll get information. I would say 98, 99% of people, when I say a year, okay, it was 1974, it was 19, if it's this lifetime, they know instantly
That's
what
something.
happened.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
So did you do that remotely? The thing in Guernsey?
Everything's remote. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's so
Yeah.
convenient.
Yeah.
So let me see. I'm going to make sure I get all the questions because I think they're so great. Do you believe our soul contracts predetermine the way we die, or is there room for choice, even at
Choice.
the very moment of passing?
We'll decide when we go, where we go, how we go, who's with us or not when we go, what the symptoms are, what the circumstances are, all of that. Yeah, I mean, the stories are endless.
Yeah.
Just even in my experience, my 100-year-old Mima waited till we were all out of the room for 10 minutes and then she passed. The nurse, I have a client who's an ICU nurse and she was working with a patient. The patient flatlined and she shook him in the bed and yelled at him. And she didn't yell at him, but she spoke very loudly. And she said, no, you can't go yet. Your brother's on his way here. You have to wait till he gets here to say goodbye. The monitors came back
No
alive
kidding.
and the brother showed up 10 minutes later and the guy died like 20 minutes later.
Oh, no kidding.
I mean,
That's
the stories are
amazing.
just endless. I'm sure you've experienced some of them
Not
as
as
well,
many as you have,
perhaps.
girl.
Well, yeah.
So tell
But
me about your other books, though.
I have book number 8's coming out here in a couple of weeks. But
Wow.
but I've done a children's series called the Angel Messages series, and
Oh,
they're
sweet.
angel messages for kids, for cats, for dogs, and for truth. And they're just
Oh, love the illustrations.
the
Love
illustrations
them.
are great. They are just designed to help teach
Oh, nice.
children about spirituality stuff. I've had so many mothers and grandmothers over the years that have said, can you write a book and help me explain how my 3-year-old knows information about his great grandfather who was dead for 40 years before he was
Yeah.
born? And how do I explain to my child that this information that he's getting and telling us about his past life, we can validate with historical documentation online, and this child can't read yet.
Oh,
And how do we explain that grandma is in heaven now, the room, because they're at that funeral home,
Yeah,
during the visitation hours. So that's what those books were designed to do. And they're so comforting. I think the adults benefit as much as the kids do from the beautiful illustrations and I think it has 15 sentences, maybe 20,
that's great.
in the whole book.
Keep it short.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all about the
we want to put
pictures.
all the information about you, how to get in touch with you, all that, and the books, etc., in the description box below. So we'll get Paula that information since she manages all my YouTube stuff. So, okay, here's another one. How do karmic ties with loved ones show up during the dying process or in the readings to you?
Well, all the deceased loved ones' spirits are there. No, as I mentioned earlier, nobody ever dies alone.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about this too, Elisa, is that all different ages, like cavemen dress people and Renaissance dress people and go-go boots and mini skirts for 1960s people. And I find that fascinating. And then, of course, loved ones' spirits are there too. When my mother was dying, the first time I saw all of this, I saw people, spirits there who I hadn't thought of in 25 or 30 years who'd been dead that long, who were colleagues of my mom's, or some of my mother's relatives, her grandmothers and her great aunts and uncles that I'd seen pictures of over the years, but I didn't know their names and I
Yeah.
didn't really know who they were. But at the funeral home, we had some of those old pictures, and my mom's brother, my uncle, was saying, yeah, that was grandma so and so, and that was whoever. And even the dog spirits that were there and some of
Yeah.
the other animal spirits, my uncle could identify them when I was describing them. The interesting thing about the 12 phases of transition that I haven't heard anywhere else, but I see it every time, and I've seen this tens and thousands of times over the years, is I mean, literally tens and thousands of times. I talk to probably about 3,000 people a year
Whoa.
doing this
We're
work. So,
busy.
yeah, is it's always the maternal spirit that's closest to the person who's dying who runs the show from the
Oh,
spirit world.
interesting.
So my mother's deceased. If I was dying, when I'll be dying, at some point, my mother will be running the show. When my mother was dying, my grandmother's spirit was running the
Oh,
show.
I see.
I that surprised me a lot.
That's
I
interesting. Yeah.
I thought God probably had a department like a death and dying department where, oh, Susie May's dying, send an angel to help the process.
Yeah.
It's the mother's spirit that
Wow.
is running the show from the spirit world. And if the person who's dying is adopted, it's that adopted mother's spirit. It's the mother that
Oh,
raised the person. Like
I
if a
see.
grandmother or an aunt raised the person or an adopted mother, it's always the female spirit that raised the person who's dying that
I think
always
that sounds
runs the show.
appropriate. That seems right. You know,
Yeah.
that's who I
Yeah.
want. No, I don't want my mother to be there when I die. She was horrible. Well,
But
maybe not
remember,
now. She
But
is now, I
remember,
know.
yeah, that was the part she was playing. That was her personality. Her
No,
spirit's
yeah.
pure love.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I want my maternal grandmother to
She'll
be.
be there, but your mother
All
will
right.
be running the show.
Okay. Well, she used to like to run the show, so it does not surprise me. But yes, I understand she was just a relationship villain, uh, playing her part to create polarity in my life. So that's fine.
When
Now,
you go to when you go to heaven, you can take her an Oscar and say, "Mom, you were the bitch from hell. Here, you deserve an
my
Academy Award."
God, really? I'm
Yeah.
here for my close-up, Mr. Whoever. All right, you often say energetic diagnostics are the future of healthcare. Oh, I think that is so true. How do you see medical intuition integrating with mainstream medicine in the years ahead? Now, I know that MD Anderson has an energy medicine department now, so things are changing, but would
A
you
lot
like
of
to
them do.
elaborate on some of that?
Yeah, a lot of them do. A lot of them have Reiki departments. A lot of them have acupuncture departments as part of their oncology services.
Hmm.
And so somebody gets chemo and then they immediately go get an acupuncture session. And it really helps with the symptoms, helps
Yeah.
negate the symptoms that come with the chemo. So, yes, that's coming. I talk in my book actually about my mother having shoulder surgery at the Ohio State University Hospital, or my alma
Okay.
mater, Ohio State. And this was, gosh, 35 years ago. And there was a nurse there that did Reiki on her shoulder. And I remember my mother saying, it really helped relieve the pain.
That's
And
something.
Reiki is just a form of energy healing. I believe more and more of it is integrating. And I have so many people that come to me who've been to multiple physicians, gotten multiple diagnoses, multiple treatment methods and modalities, and they haven't worked. And
Yeah.
so they're coming to me kind of out of a last ditch effort, to see.
They should come to
And
you first.
well, it's their path, and they'll have all
I know.
this plethora of symptoms, and nobody will be able to figure out what's going on, and they'll just give them different meds, and I'll say, all right, you got mold exposure. I can see the mold inside your body, or you have metastasized cancer, even if it's not showing up on the scans yet, or whatever. I also, as part of my bag of tricks, I do remote viewing. That's how I see inside people's bodies, and
Yeah. Makes sense.
tell how close to death somebody is and those kinds of things. And the interesting part about that too is that I can see what's going on remotely, whether that be in an operating room. I do that a lot when somebody's having surgery. And I can read the anesthesia equipment and I'll say, well, yeah, they're doing fine. Their blood pressure looks fine and they're,
That's amazing. Well, that's such
all of
detail.
that. And then I'll tell them who the spirits are that are in the OR suite with them because they're always in like an amphitheater position at the foot of the OR table, like
Oh,
rows of U-shaped spirits. And the guardian angel of the person who's having the surgery is over the head of anesthesia always. And there are spirit surgeons that are over the head of the actual surgeons
wow.
performing the procedure. When my husband was getting his knee done, I had taken his surgeon one of my books and I said, I'll be able to see what's going on, during the case.
Oh, oh,
And so
wow.
he came to see me when my husband was in recovery. And I said, you had to, now I'm an orthopedic surgery device inventor. So I know a little bit about orthopedics.
Yeah, I think so.
And I said, you had to kind of jerry rig that a little bit to get that implant in that left knee. What was going on? And he stopped and he chuckled and he said, wow, you really could see what was happening in
Oh
there.
my gosh.
And I said, I told you. And then he said,
Amazing.
a couple of weeks post-op, he said, could you just go home with all my patients because my husband recovered so easily and
Yeah.
quickly. So I think more and more of those experiences
Thank goodness.
are starting to happen. I don't think it's mainstream, but I think to your point, the academic hospitals seem to be the first ones
Isn't that
that are
something? Yeah.
implementing this.
Mhm.
University of Virginia has a whole department of people that studies near death
Yeah, and they
experience
have this
children,
this one of a department dedicated to studying consciousness survival or something like that.
right?
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's fascinating. There's so much science. I mean, the soul is made of neutrinos, those little bitty particles that can pass through lead. That's why Casper can go through walls.
Well,
And
not only that, but recently scientists have discovered that there's a black hole, there's a vortex inside every human cell's
heard that
nucleus.
too.
And
It's amazing.
I see vortices everywhere in the work I do. It's all mathematics, vortex mathematics. That's how
It's all
spirit
math.
communicates in numerals.
Math is the language of the universe.
That's right. Universal language. Yeah.
So we're going to get there. We're just behind a little bit. All right, now let's go on and see what kind of cool questions we have here. When you detect an illness energetically, how much of healing is about addressing the body, and how much is about addressing the soul's deeper wounds, like say the emotional wounds, the
Well,
trauma?
we talked about that with the
Yeah,
energy filled membrane. I usually do that
yeah.
last. I don't have time to do that on my call-in shows.
Oh
Ask
no.
Julie Ryan every Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I don't have time for that because we're trying to get as many people on to do a healing on them, to, figure out some things identified, then there's a healing.
Yeah.
But when I have a client for an hour, I have several graduates that work with me and do client appointments too. And we're always looking at the energy field. Remembering my feeling about that is you can fix body parts all day long, but if you're leaking power, what's the point?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you've invented medical devices and built companies, but And that's so impressive. But now you heal through intuition. How do you see, and I think we've talked about this, maybe you can add some more science and spirituality merging in medicine. You think it will continue to do so?
I do. Yeah, I think so. A friend of mine is head of one of the most renowned genetics genomics uh, research centers in the world. They're in the top 5 in the world, and I'll describe to him what I'm seeing in the healings, and he'll go, "Well, that's the this splitting with the that and the what." I mean, he's always got an explanation of what I'm seeing. I see DNA get resequenced all the time.
Oh, geez.
And the analogies that spirit sends me are just hilarious. For instance, DNA looks like a strip of paper you'd see inside a fortune cookie with a fortune written on it. And
Oh,
I see the A, T, C's, and G's, the
yeah,
nucleic acids. And
yeah.
one strand can have anywhere from 100,000 to a billion letters. I watch the letters get resequenced back to a normal recipe and then snap into an X chromosome.
Mm.
So I sometimes will see things and then I have to go educate myself about what am I seeing? Like with the DNA, I knew it was DNA, but I don't remember my fourth grade lessons,
Oh my
science
gosh.
classes
I
on
think I learned that in
DNA
high school.
or high
Wow.
school. I'm sure
Yeah.
I had it in high school, but I don't remember
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fascinating. Yeah, I bet you have learned a lot
I have.
in your years on and taught a lot too. Now, can we talk a little bit about one of the questions about your personal and universal insights? Um, but I want to know what sort of things you teach. Can you teach a person, and do you teach people how to scan for past lives and to heal
Oh
and
yeah, all of
mediumship?
them.
Tell me,
In a
remote
weekend.
viewing.
Yeah, in a
Wow.
weekend.
How
Yeah,
long do you have these?
we just had the in-person one in Atlanta 2 weeks ago, and we had people flying from 4 countries, and
Oh my
we had
goodness.
about 70 people. And within the first hour, they're doing this, and it amazes them. But the vibration is so high, and then I have a bunch of graduates that come in as well and help, and it's really remarkable how everybody has the ability to do it. It's just a matter of developing and enhancing it.
Yeah. Do you have to meditate before you do a
No,
scan?
no, it's instant, on and off,
My gosh, that's
nanosecond.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. What past life did you have that is most, it makes a lot of sense of why you do this now?
Well, I had never had a past life regression before. So last summer, I had a colleague named Simon Bown come on the show, and we regressed me live on the show. And what we learned was that I was on a star 500 billion light years away. I
Wow.
wanted to know, where did this interest in healing come from? Because I've
Yeah.
always been interested in the healing, whether it's through a device, a medical device, or energy healing, or emotional healing, or whatever. And so I was on this star, and I remember thinking, well, a star, wouldn't I have burned up? And I thought, no, duh, you were just energy. There wasn't a
Oh, yeah.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I saw this light being infused into me, like laser beams and lightning, and it was wild.
Oh,
And so I wanted to know, where did that interest in healing originate? And that's what I learned. So that was by far the most profound
that is
past life that
profound.
I've done.
And
Yeah,
so you are a powerful galactic being, really.
I guess. Aren't we all?
Yeah. Well, maybe not all. I don't know. I have too many flaws to say that about me. I trip everywhere I go. Trip on lines that don't have cracks. So, but anyway, that's here's the last question. After decades of working with spirit, what has most transformed your own view of death, and how has that changed the way you live your everyday life?
If the worst thing that can happen to me is I die and I'm escorted to heaven by my loved ones and the angels, and my loved ones are there and my pets' spirits are there, if that's the worst thing that can happen to me, okay, bring it on.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I always say. What's the worst that can happen? We're eternal beings, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And no matter how awful a situation seems, thoughts don't have a meaning until we give them a meaning. So if we
Yes.
control our thoughts, not that we're not going to grieve,
Yeah.
certainly, but that's the human experience. And when we know that we can communicate with our loved ones in heaven, as you do all
Yeah.
the time, and I do as well, it puts a different perspective on it.
Yeah.
We miss them physically.
I know. I want the hugs, the kisses, and
Yeah.
stuff like that, of course. But
And the fact that
not
they're
seeing
still
them.
around and we can communicate with them just brings so much comfort.
It does. It really does. You're right. What's the worst that can happen to us?
And then
Mm.
we rinse and repeat, right? We go to
That's
heaven
right.
and then we figure out what do we want to come in and explore in our next lifetime.
That's right. What do you want to do in your next lifetime?
I haven't thought about it. I'm enjoying this one too much to
Oh,
even think
that's
about it.
good.
Yeah.
Got grandbabiys and stuff. So yeah, that's
Well,
great.
they're all grown. I don't have any blood grandbabies. I have five grandsons through marriage, but
Oh,
the
okay.
youngest is 18 and the eldest is 26.
Wow.
So they're
So
all out of
my
school.
my son-in-law is an orthopedic surgeon, does joint replacements. I bet he knows of some of the devices that
Sure. Yeah.
really. What
Ask
company are
Zimmer.
you?
Well, Zimmer, I've invented devices, the Zimmer Hemovac auto transfusion device for
Oh,
total joint surgery. I'm sure he's aware of that.
I
And then
bet.
some of my other devices that I manufactured myself. Is he
Unbelievable.
practicing in Houston?
Yeah, he is.
Great. What hospital is he in?
Um, he goes to Sugarland, but he also goes to, oh no, Fondren Orthopedics. That's the name of the company. He's part ownership with a bunch of other orthopods. So
Great.
yeah, but he goes to St. Luke's and
Yeah.
South Memorial Baptist, Memorial Herman rather. I don't know. I don't keep up that much, I guess.
They've all been clients over the
Yeah.
years. Yeah, I know. I was a sales rep in LA.
Mm.
So even 40 years after the fact, if you tell me a part of LA, I can tell you what hospitals are there
Oh
in
wow,
that
that's
section
great.
of
I bet.
LA.
I
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah.
So what I'd like you to do is, of course, give me all the information so I can get it all in the description box. And what do you want from me?
Nothing. Thank you so much for having me on. Everything about me is at askjulieryan.com. We're
Right.
at Ask Julie Ryan on all the social media platforms. We're at Ask Julie Ryan on all the podcast networks. I've got 5 YouTube channels at Ask Julie Ryan, English, Spanish, Portuguese, French, and German. And so everything's Ask Julie Ryan.
Okay. Can you let me personally know so I can plug it when the next weekend event is going to be? Will you email me that all the information so I
Yeah,
can?
May.
Okay.
We'll do an online one in May, and
Okay.
then we'll do an in-person one the weekend before Halloween in Atlanta
Okay.
again next year. Yeah, come join us. It's a blast.
That'd be
It's so
awesome.
much fun.
That'd be
And
awesome. But
then
yeah,
and
send me
then we
the
have on
information. Yeah.
we have online training as well
Yeah,
that
that's
are
great.
that's self-paced, but it all has practice groups that go with it because that's the most important
Yeah.
part is the practicing.
Yeah.
It's
You
it's
have to have
what
feedback. Yeah,
well,
what you're feeling is right. I mean, at least in part.
and it's what lays the neural pathways so that it's
Yeah.
just second nature. The more you do it, the more it's just
Yeah.
second nature. So you're not practicing anymore?
No, I work with scalar energy. I heal people with
Yeah,
scalar
that's
energy.
right. That's right.
So
Well,
that
that's what I'm using. I'm playing in the
thought
plasma field.
creates reality, and I use scalar energy in the machine, right?
Right.
That sends the information to that person's energy, like unravel the DNA in all the cancer cells or things like that.
Yeah. How's it working for you?
Oh my God, it astounds me how, I mean, herniated disc disappearing, myocardial scars disappearing, all the atherosclerotic plaques in somebody's arteries gone. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's not 100% because nothing is. People have to not block it and not play tug of war with my thought creating reality and their thought creating reality. They can't be like, this is too good to be true, or I'm not worthy of getting better. So that's probably the biggest obstacle we have is people and their lack of belief and lack of self-love.
Right.
Otherwise, it works great.
Are you working with people primarily in Houston or all over
Yeah, all
or
over the world,
yeah.
Finland, Philippines, you name it. And
Yeah.
they're
So
wonderful and they keep coming back, so it must be working.
well, and your academic chops give
Yeah,
you so much credibility
that's true.
to,
It helps us, does yours, of course.
yeah. Well, Mine is I'm an unlikely psychic, but yours it can help you with all your medical
Yeah,
healing stuff.
that's true.
Are you scheduled to be on my show yet?
Not yet,
Do you
but I'd
want to
be honored
be?
to.
You
Sure.
want? Okay. I'll have my team reach out to you and I think we're scheduling after the first of the year. So
All right.
we'll get you on my show and talk about that. But the, the energy that I work in is the plasma field, which is scalar
Yeah, well, that's
energy.
true. Yeah,
Yeah, it's all the same thing.
yeah.
And so that's how that's what all the remote, all the healing, everything's all in the plasma field.
Wow.
I didn't know that until I had a scientist on the show who's deceased now. And he's the one that he said, "Well, you're working in the plasma field." I said, "Really?" I said, "I know it's scalar waves because that's the plasma field. It's
I did
not,
not know it was also called plasma field. I'm going to read about that.
yeah, the guy's name was Tom Palladino.
Oh,
And
Tom. Oh, God.
yeah.
Tom, he fell off a cliff and had
What
injuries.
happened? I
He
never
fell off,
heard.
he was hiking with his family, fell off a cliff and had injuries that were just not compatible with life.
Oh,
I had lots of interviews with him, and we were very close. It's just horrible.
yeah, he's the
He was
one
a
that
lovely man. Really
lovely
was.
man. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the one that taught me about the plasma field.
Yeah.
And that's what all the galactic whatever,
Yeah.
they're all using the plasma field too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So,
Arcturians apparently heal by just changing vibrational frequencies of the energy frequencies of the cells. That's all they do. That's it. It's all about vibrational energy.
mhm.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Fascinating. Well, thank you so much for
Well,
having
thank
me
you. It's
on.
been
Oh,
such an
you
honor. It's
bet.
been fascinating. I've learned so much. I'm going to have to like empty my brain out and let some new information in eventually. But
All
thank
right.
you,
We'll
sweetheart.
have you on the show and maybe you can bring Eric with you and we'll
I
talk to
would
him.
love to. That would be
Yeah.
good. Let's do it.
Okay. Sounds good. Did I say your name right,
You did.
Elisa?
You did a perfect job. One of
Good.
the rare ones.
Well, that's why I always ask first. There's nothing worse than you mispronouncing somebody's name when you're talking to them, for
I
God's sakes.
know. Well,
Yeah.
I guess it's
Okay.
worse.
Thanks,
I'm just kidding.
Elisa. Take
Thank you,
care.
sweetheart. You take care too.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Bye.